Hi everybody. Today is August 11th and I just want to talk a little bit about these tomato plants here. I have all my regular tomato plants I put over there, and after I did all of those, I have 6 beds and then 6 4x12 beds and then a 4x24 foot bed. And by the time I got done planting all of those tomatoes, I was so sick of planting tomatoes that I intended to leave these just to die in the tray. I had planted so many. I did not want to plant any more tomato plants. I was sick of planting. And with all those beds, I was like, I have enough tomatoes. I don't need any more plants. So I kind of left these just sitting. First I left them in the greenhouse and I put them out on my deck, and I left them sitting there and didn't water them. I watered them for a couple weeks, but after that I was like, oh well, these poor plants, barely hanging in there. They're just shrivelly little stems, hardly any leaves on them, and they have to die eventually, right? And so I just kind of left them there, just ignored them. And after like 2 more weeks after that, so probably at least early to mid-July, and they were still green, and I would put water in and they'd come up, and I'm like, okay, these plants really want a chance. So I stuck them in the ground. If you watch some of the older videos, some of them were like 2 inches tall. They were terrible, and I mean, it was my fault because I didn't want to plant anymore. And but I put them in here, and look at these things. I'm just fascinated with how well they're doing. I mean, I think that they're doing better than a lot of the other plants that were like babied, so to speak. And these, I mean, look at the stems on these. Look at that. I mean, they are just incredible, and they have blossoms on them. I'm pretty sure I saw a few tomatoes at least on them already. I don't even know what kind they are. I have no idea what kind they are. They look like some kind of Brandywine. I don't know if they are or not. I guess maybe we'll see a little bit better once they have more tomatoes on them. I thought I saw a couple tomatoes. I'm not seeing them now, but I'm pretty sure that there's a couple on here. I mean, even the blossoms on these things are big. I'm amazed. They're absolutely amazing me at how well they're doing, considering how tiny and bad they look when you planted them. And like I said, it was like at least mid-July, and they were tiny. So it just goes to show you, if you just plant these plants in the ground, even if you don't want to, and you just stick them in, and they can actually thrive and be really nice, beautiful plants. I mean, I feel like I'm gonna get my best tomatoes off of these. Maybe not. Maybe the tomatoes won't be great, but I mean, even over here, they're kind of like way at the end of the garden. So some days my just can't get my hose down here. So they probably haven't even been watered as much as the other plants, even out here, and they're still doing great. These do look a lot like a lot of my volunteer tomatoes, so maybe these are a tomato that I really should consider planting the most of, because they apparently do really well in my area. And so that could be part of it too. They just really like it here. So that's another thing to consider, is if they're going to do this good, then, better, like those Campbell's ones that I have that look so terrible. I don't think those are good ones to grow around here. The tomatoes are looking great, but those poor plants look miserable. These plants, they look so happy here. So that's another thing to think about. Stick with the tomatoes that do well in your area, because apparently there's something they like here. I'm trying trying to think of if I have anything else that was really bad like that. I mean, my cucumbers haven't done well since I planted them at all, but they're doing okay. I'll probably pick different varieties for next year because they don't seem particularly happy here either. I think I did better with the ones I planted last year. But so it's just something to think about. Plant stuff that likes being in your region. Like this cabbage does very well here. So I bought the same one again because they were very happy last year. This broccoli's looking good and the kale is looking good. But it's the tomatoes. I am just really impressed by those. See, I have some other ones. These are Brandywines, and they look very similar, which is why I think those other ones are too. And yeah, they're doing really well. And when I say the Campbell's ones aren't doing very well, I mean, they're like, you know, they turn colors, they're kind of curly, they're all kind of wilty, they just don't look so happy out here. They're just like, whatever, we'll just grow. And then, yeah, I look at the leaves, they're not even great. Here's one, it's all wilting up. Yeah, so, So I think, just something to think about. Tomatoes grow, they're kind of picky sometimes. These little cherry tomatoes, the tomatoes are doing good, but again, I don't know. I just haven't really decided about these plants yet. I didn't have them trellised up real good, so they might not have liked that. Romas are doing okay. But as you can see, none of these three are doing as well as these. They're all doing good. They all have lots of tomatoes, but none of them seem quite as happy as this batch here. So, or maybe it's that I didn't baby these. That could be another part of it too. That maybe the roots just grew stronger because they had to. A couple different things to think about there. The tomatoes. I love tomatoes and I grow a lot of tomatoes. Last year I couldn't get any of my tomatoes to turn red, so we'll see what happens this year. I'm keeping my fingers crossed though that some, especially these, turn red. I did actually find a couple on the volunteer tomato plants down at that end that did actually turn red, but they were very small. So maybe they were kind of cherry tomato maybe. These look like they're gonna be big. They got pretty big blossoms on them. Wish I could find that tomato. I'm sure I saw at least one in here. Let's just look once more here. I can't get over how thick their stems are. They're so nice. I'm just not seeing those tomatoes though. I really thought there was at least one or two in here. I'm sure there is, and I'm just not seeing them. So yeah, so if you have any other tips on tomatoes or what you've experienced, or last year since I had so many that didn't turn red, I kind of left a lot in the garden, so I think that's why I'm getting a lot of the volunteer tomatoes around that I am. So I also know if your volunteer tomatoes come up, they are really good for your area, you know, because they survive. I mean, we get cold winters here and we freeze over winter. It gets below zero at least a few days, 0 degrees Fahrenheit, at least a couple days every winter. And so somehow those seeds all made it. And so I have quite a few volunteer tomato plants. So those are just good for this area. And like I said, they kind of look a lot like these. So Whatever this turns out to be, like I said, I really think they're Brandywines, but they're good for this area. So if your plants, you find some that are doing exceptionally good, you know, you might want to look into making sure you grow those every year. It's just a good pick for you. All right, well, if you have any comments or tips for growing tomatoes, please put them in the comments below. And thanks for watching, and I hope your tomatoes are going great. Bye.